greatest co-host in the world. What's 2K99? Get ready to rumble!
The tag team champions of the world.
My brotherly crevasse
That is the best intro I have ever received.
the world. The Buffalo Jets fan.
Yo,
George Fant is a barely above replacement level, pretty good left tackle.
How can you say
Compare
that when
that
he
to
was
an-
top 3 in sack percentage last year for left tackles?
And I think when in doubt, until you have better reason, go with the optimistic view. And our defensive line is going to be giving a lot of people some trouble.
But yeah, it's got to be. I'm with you. I don't like the Nathan's fries when they're like floppy. It's got to be like done really well. You know, it's very hard to teach 6'3" and 4.3 speed. That's very rare. The talent's there. He's just got to put it together mentally.
right.
To get
You're a
on
cheater.
you, I'm a cheater. Nobody's in trouble. Can we go back to the day where we say, in my opinion? Can we at least do that? And it's not you, Chode. I just got a message lecturing me why Saleh is not a good coach. Because this person who's just somebody who watches my channel is magically a GM now. They're not even, they're a seasoned GM who knows more than Joe Douglas. Knows more than Joe Douglas. So if you say, in my opinion, I don't like Saleh and I don't think he's going to be a good coach, I can't argue with that, fine. But when you come with the attitude and the tone of, Jeremy, Robert Saleh is not a good coach and never will be, and here's why. Well, then why don't you have JD's job? You're saying that you're better than JD. Really? You know more than JD? You know more than Joe Douglas. You might be right in the end, but not because of any intelligence. You might be right in the end because nobody knows. And it's the same thing with Zach Wilson and everything else we debate about. Just because you're right about something doesn't mean that in the long run it proves to be right. Doesn't mean your opinion had any logic to it or anything to it. Because everything has different opinions. People are split on different sides of every issue. And things get proven wrong or not wrong. You can only look at the information you have when you make the statement. Now, anytime somebody says, in my opinion, I respect that. I respect every opinion. The only time I get frustrated is when someone comes in and acts like they know. I'm smarter than Joe Douglas. I know that Robert Saleh is not a good coach. No, you don't. You don't know that. You're not even, how much are you being paid right now by the NFL or the New York Jets? Why? Why don't you have a job as a GM? Why? I don't understand. You know so much. In your opinion, did Pete Carroll win a championship in his first 2 seasons? Did Bill Parcells win a championship in his first 2 seasons? Did Bill Belichick win a championship, a Super Bowl, in his first 2 seasons? Did Michael Tomlin? Well, that's a bad example. He took over a great team. So some may have. But how many coaches, if we look at all the different Super Bowl coaches, had a Super Bowl ring within 2 years? You can't say we didn't get better. And then we're going to start saying why. We got better because of the players. Oh, yeah. So in 1 year, we went from 2-4. We went 2-14. We drafted some guys, went to 4-13. And in 1 year, we're a playoff team or you're a bad coach. Right? It doesn't matter that you lost your left tackle. It doesn't matter that you lost your other tackle. It doesn't matter that you lost your best offensive lineman who plays either tackle position. It doesn't matter we have guys we don't even know the name of and can't pronounce playing tackle and the offensive line. It doesn't matter that we lost Breece Hall. It doesn't matter that half our roster is sophomores or freshmen, rookies or second-year players. None of that matters. It doesn't matter that obviously we missed on quarterback for the time being, and we don't have competent quarterback play. Saleh was supposed to, in his second year as a head coach, mind you, override everything and overcome all of that and make the playoffs. Otherwise, you're not happy. It's not good enough. He should have gotten us to the playoffs. Well, how about giving the guy some time? How about thinking of any time you've ever gotten a promotion in your life and being honest? And don't lie to back up your opinion. You're not your opinion, your statement, because your opinions are fine. Don't lie and say, yeah, it was great right away. Well, aren't you hunky-dory? You were great in every new job you ever had in your life. There was no curve. There was no growth in any job you've ever had in your life. You never had to grow in that job. Your expectation that a first-year teacher, second-year teacher, if they're not a great teacher, fire them. Let's just so this way we'll fire 95% of the teachers that have ever taught. Because you know how many teachers are great teachers their first 2 years teaching? 5% is generous. Generous. Why don't we fire every police officer, every fireman? You think that firemen or a police officer in their first 2 years compares to someone who's been doing it for 15 years? Maybe once in a blue moon. But you're not going to have much. Just fire them. Fire people. Right? The defense didn't get better. 32nd in the league, the worst defense in the NFL. And I'll grant you that. Okay, we're not top 5. Let's say we're not, even though we are, statistically. Top 10. Okay. So a head coach comes to a team and we're top 10. Oh, that's Ulbrich then, right? It's Ulbrich. It's not Saleh. It's Ulbrich. The guy you wanted to fire last year. Same people. Defensive coordinator's got to go. Who made our defense go from 32nd to 10th or top 10? Joe Douglas with the draft picks? All Joe Douglas? Nothing to do with coaching? You want to name all the players that have teams that have great players, but their defense or their offense doesn't rank high because of poor coaching? You think it's just players? Put the right players on the field and they play. Are we children or are we adults? I'm here to talk about adult conversations. Adults using real logic and thought like an adult, not a child. So to sit there and say, I know I'm smarter than Joe Douglas. I'm a better GM than him. And I know better than he does. And I'm going to define people by their first 2 years as a coach. And they're doing it, and they're still doing it no matter what I'm saying. It's amazing. Oh, Mike, bro. So you would fire every teacher. Every teacher that I've ever watched their first year teaching, second year teaching, I could pull out bad judgment, bad decision-making, and I could pull out every reason why they won't be a great teacher. But do you know why we don't fire them? Because we coach them like I was coached. I was a sucky teacher my first 2 years. I had a great relationship with the kids. Kids loved me, but I couldn't teach worth a crap. So maybe they should have just fired me. And then I never would have went on to teach for 10 more years and become a teacher where 0% of my students failed the state exams, special ed students. And then went on to become an administrator that's making a difference in schools, school-wide, and helping other teachers. None of that happens if we go by Micro's logic, because it's not my opinion he's not a good coach. It's not my opinion he's not a good teacher, and I don't think he'll be a good teacher. It's I know somehow I'm magically smarter than Joe Douglas and everyone in the world. Sitting in my house watching the football games on TV, I'm smarter. As I sit here and I eat my Doritos or whatever, McDonald's or whatever the hell you eat at home, or hot dogs or hamburgers, eating food, watching the TV, you know better than everybody. Can you just be an adult and say, in my opinion? That's all I want to say. In my opinion. In my opinion. In my opinion. Yeah, so let's fire every teacher. My kid was bad in school, so it's the teacher's fault. Okay, maybe it's the teacher's fault. Was it a brand new teacher? Was it a teacher in their first 2 years? Was it a teacher in the first 2 years? It's like you're now so everything you did in your life, you were great at the day you started, day one, you started. You're just a magical human being. A magical human. Sit and look at your life and think of your life right now. What are you? You're the president? You're the CEO of a company? Because you're magical, right? You were great at everything the second you started. If we would have gotten worse this year, if we would have went to 2-15 this year, then yeah, I'd say, well, we gave him better players. He's not getting any better. It looks like he can't handle this position. We need to consider a new head coach. But that's not what happened. I understand it's frustrating. I understand that we wanted to win now. We were 7-4. We were 5-2, 7-4. We wanted to go to the playoffs. I get it. I'm right there with you. You watch me freak out every football game with Green Bean Live. You watch me sit there and hold it in because he has to yell at me like a father yelling at his child. But at least 2 days later, I could freaking get over it and use some logic and not act like a child. And I could sit there and I could look at facts. What are the facts? The facts are we have a chance to win our 8th game. We have a chance to double the amount of wins from last year. Of course, that's partly JD. I love Joe Douglas. He puts great players on the field. But it takes time. Like every job, it's not some magical special job. When it comes to head coaches, if you're not great year 2, you're a bad coach. And we're just going to keep ignoring all the great head coaches in the NFL. How much percentage, if we did a study, if we went through every Super Bowl and took every Super Bowl coach and then looked at their first 2 years as a coach, what percentage of those coaches won a Super Bowl in their first 2 years as a head coach? And if it was, how many of them were taking over an NFL championship team? Like Seifert when he took over the 49ers. Like that mumbling, bumbling moron who took over the Dallas Cowboys in the late 90s and came in as head coach and allowed the coordinators to do the same exact playbook, same plays, didn't interfere, was smart enough to do that. As a college coach, smart enough not to mess it up. Just let them play. I mean, he had Emmitt Smith, he had Michael Irvin, he had Troy Aikman, just didn't mess it up, didn't touch it. You're going to count that? You're going to compare that to a coach who comes and takes over a 2-14 team? Comes to a city, they're 2-14 the previous season, and guess what? We cut we didn't re-sign who everyone considered the greatest player on the Jets. Oh no, we did. We franchised him, and he got hurt in the 4th game. Marcus May, that was our best player. That was the star everybody was crying over. How are we not extending Marcus May? That's what we were crying over. Marcus May. How many players do we have right now on this team that are better than Marcus May? So you're not going to give a coach a third year to continue to show improvement. It's so obvious. 2 wins, he takes over. 4 wins, the next year 7 to 8 wins. Right? And of course, people will say this game matters. Do you think he has to win this game to keep his job? Really? There's no offensive line. You're gonna blame this on Saleh? We literally have Joe Flacco and no offensive line. We're gonna judge Robert Saleh on this Miami game? Really? It's not smart. You know what pisses me off? When I watch Pete Carroll go to 2 Super Bowls in a row because fans like you said fire Pete. We're happy when we fired Pete Carroll. That's what pisses me off. That's what pisses me off with our fan base, because our fan base wants to lose. People who are saying we should fire Saleh right now want to continue being losers, because that's what loser franchises do. Who's your answer? Sean Payton. Why? Because he won a Super Bowl with Drew Brees once? Once? Oh, I guess he's some god. There's no Drew Brees here, people. There's no Drew Brees. So who cares about Sean Payton? No Drew Brees, people. He's retired. So you tell me how we're going to win a Super Bowl because we have Sean Payton. You tell me how that's the answer. Because Sean Payton won a Super Bowl. So let's just call up new criteria to be a coach for the New York Jets. You have to have won a Super Bowl. That's the new criteria? Really? It's the same baloney with you have to go out and get Lamar Jackson and trade the entire team. Trade all the picks, give up all the money. It's the same stupid thinking. Those teams didn't win championships because they went out and did that. They believed and invested in a coach. They believed and invested in a quarterback, in people. They gave them time to grow. They gave them time to grow. Now we're naming people who haven't even won a Super Bowl. We should run out and grab them. They haven't even won a Super Bowl. Let's grab the guy who didn't win a Super Bowl and is now under investigation for cheating in college. That's a smart move. That's the kind of character we want in here. Let's get the cheater. Let's get the guy who broke the rules and didn't follow the rules of college football. He's going to magically win us the Super Bowl. Yeah, he's the answer. Not the guy that already has 2 years experience who has us on a trajectory of growth. That can't be the right thing to do. Because, and we're not talking about opinion. We're talking about, factually, right? It's a fact. It's a fact to you. You're smarter than Joe Douglas. Not even it's in my opinion. Not even the humbleness to say, in my opinion, Robert Saleh is not a great coach. Nope. We don't even have that kind of humanity in us. We're just we see ourselves as this brain that knows all above everybody else. We're the smartest. We're the best. And where are you in your life? Give me an example of where you stand in your life that backs it up, that you're smarter than everybody else. That what you say and think isn't your opinion and yours, but it's law. It's what's right and what's real. Give me the opinion. Give me the example. Show me 4 Super Bowl trophies behind you in your room because you were a general manager that won 4 Super Bowls, and you know that Robert Saleh is not the right guy. Show me the qualification that you have, because I'm not saying he's the right guy. So just so we know the difference, I'm not saying Robert Saleh is the right guy. I'm saying I want to find out. I'm saying I don't know if he's the right guy or not. But the last thing I want to do is fire him now. And then in 8 years from now, whenever it is, I'm watching him on TV win Super Bowls. Like I had to watch Pete Carroll do it because somebody thought like you did and fired him before they even gave him a chance to grow. 2 years is not enough when you're starting with nothing. You're starting with nothing. 2 years is not enough. We have to see, as long as he's growing and we're getting better, as long as he's not, thank you. In your opinion, he doesn't have it. Great. Fine with that. 3rd year, if he's not getting better, I understand it might be time to move on. If we open next season 2-7, I'm not going to say, oh, you were right. I might say your opinion was right. Oh, it looks like your opinion was right on. But I'm never going to back down and say it was right to fire him. If he goes 2-7 and they fire him, or if next year he goes backwards and we finish 5-12 and they fire Robert Saleh, I'm going to say, oh, I guess not. I guess it didn't happen. Because my opinion is not even that Robert Saleh is a Super Bowl coach. My opinion on Robert Saleh is I just don't know because we haven't seen enough. I know that he managed to improve. I know that he managed to take a 2-14 team, and by the end of his second season, we're looking at 7 to 8 wins. I know that our defense, which was a joke, is now a defense that went from 32nd to top 10 in the NFL. That maybe if we get another linebacker or safety, is like we're getting really close to being very special. That he has us on a path to be a dominant defense. And when you're a dominant defense, now all we need is competent quarterback play. Because we get AVT back. We get our stud running back back. I can't imagine the offensive line struggling and the way it did this season. Like, I'm not saying the offensive line will be healthy all next year. I'm just saying it can't be worse. It can't. We have to assume that we're going to have better luck on the offensive line and have better offensive blocking next year. Like, we have to assume the blocking is going to be better. Now, the quarterback situation can't get worse. overall. If you take all of our quarterbacks, so we don't even have to argue about, oh, Zach, I'm a Zach truther and I'm a Mike White truther. We don't even have to worry about all that. Let's combine Strevler, Wilson, Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco, and combine all their numbers and look at the overall quarterback position for the New York Jets. I cannot imagine it being worse. Can't imagine. It's just bad. It's probably without me looking, I would guess 32nd worse than the loss. 32nd. Sorry, I read a word up there. 32nd worse than the league. Right? Cannot have so next year. Quarterback play has to be better. Obviously, we're going to get a veteran. We're going to do something. But overall, the quarterback play is going to get better. The offensive line is going to get better. And I'm saying it with a strongly opinionated. And I'm strongly opinionated because I can't see statistically the odds that the injuries could be any worse than they were this year. So let's see what Saleh does with another year on the defense, because we look at the jump this year. Giant jump on the defense. Let's see what he does when we get better blocking and a competent quarterback. Like more competent quarterback play, more blocking. I don't know if we can count on Breece Hall, because I think Breece Hall might need another year. Like he might play half a season next year and not be the same guy, and then need the other year if we go by other players. Or he can come back and be great. It's just a mystery, so I'm not going to count on it. But let's see how he does. And if he comes out, I don't care about firing coaches in the middle of the season because I don't think it salvages anything. I think it's just for the satisfaction of our emotions. Like, we fired you. So I don't care about firing people in the middle of the season. But if we're sitting here a year from now, and it didn't get better in a year from now, if we're sitting here and it didn't get better, and it didn't get better or got worse, then yeah, I'll be leading the charge. About not the charge, fire him like I'm holding a pitchfork, but I'll be leading the charge in really considering, like, why is he our head coach? Because you got to get better each year. And my assumption is he's going to have more talent next year because he's going to have the defense, which I think will improve because I think there's a chance we can add on a better safety, or a linebacker and get some help. And I believe that the offensive line and the quarterback play is all going to get better next year. So if the overall result is not better, then I'm not going to complain. I'll be one of the ones saying, yeah, maybe we need to find a new head coach. Because now we took away the excuses. We gave him better quarterback play. We gave him better offensive blocking, and he's not doing it. It's not happening. And he didn't have the balls to step up and fire Mike LaFleur, whatever the reason. Because that's part of being a head coach. And maybe he needs to learn from the experience, be fired, go somewhere else as an assistant, work his way back up to another opportunity somewhere else, and whatever. But right now, he's been here a minute. A minute. First year was a garbage year. It was to implement new systems. We knew we didn't have the talent. Year two, now we're expecting to see something and some from all that investment of implementing that system and sacrificing that year and enduring a 4-13 year. And during this season, what happened? We had devastating losses to our offensive line. Devastating, beyond anything I've ever experienced as a football fan. I've never experienced anything like it. We played a guy at left tackle the entire year who cannot lift his arm above his head. He's playing injured. We have another tackle who's playing with a bad knee. Do I agree with the decision to play him? I don't know. But maybe that's how dire the situation it was, that was still the best we had. Then you lose AVT. Then even Herbert can't keep healthy. You put in Max Mitchell, and he has injury, and then he comes back and has blood clots. Are you kidding me? We've watched franchises fold into nothing. We've watched franchises fold into nothing. And yeah, technically we did if you look at the end of our season. But we were competitive. We didn't get blown out in those earlier games against Minnesota, the second game against Buffalo, the game against New England. We didn't get blown out in those games. He was still keeping us competitive. He still had them fighting. And then because they lost those close games, I guess they lost confidence. And yeah, this is a question mark for Robert Saleh. What happened? Why did we stop being competitive? Why did we all of a sudden get to a level where we couldn't compete against the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Seattle Seahawks? I get it. He's going to have to come back next year and take a big step forward. I get it. But why are we trying to fire him? Why are we bringing up the word fire? It's never worked for us. I'm over 50 years old and I've never seen the Jets win a Super Bowl. And we've been the kings at firing coaches. We've been like the other organizations that fire coaches and fire coaches. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So you fire the coaches and your new system, then they have to be given their first year to put their new system in. Right? So you can't really judge them too much, right? New system. Then you give them their second year. And if it doesn't do well, if they don't do well and they don't grow the team, then why fire them? Bring in another guy. At what point do we invest in a coach? Do we invest in our staff? Do we make an investment and trust? It's not like we're sitting here with a second, 4, and 13th season. That's the craziness of this. It's not like our defense is still ranked 32nd. We're sitting here in a year. Yes, the ending sucked, but we know the injuries were real. We know that the injuries were real. You can't say that's just an excuse. No, it's not. If you know anything about football, you know the importance of an offensive line. You can't say it's not an excuse to suddenly not have an offensive line, to make our very subpar quarterback play even worse because they didn't even have an offensive line. So then we don't have a running game. You know, how hard is it to win games? I mean, how easy or how much do you expect to be able to win games if you don't have an offensive line, if they all get hurt and your offensive line is ridiculous? Like, what do you expect? The defense was not riddled with injuries, and what happened? They went from 32nd in the NFL. And again, I don't want to get into an argument because if I say top 5, you're going to say, no, they weren't. They gave up the touchdown to Detroit. Did you see them? Okay, fine. Because anybody who argues that the Jets defense is not top 10 at a minimum, you're an idiot. If you're going to sit there and say the Jets aren't a top 10 defense in the NFL, you're an idiot. I can't even talk to you. Because then you just don't know anything. Anybody who claims that. So you can't, because you want to prove your argument is right, you can't sit there to prove your argument is right, say that the Jets don't have a top 10 defense because it is convenient to your argument that Saleh's not a good coach. You see, because we can't waste our time on liars, whether you're lying to yourself or you just want to blatantly lie. Everybody out here with the brain knows that the Jets defense is at a minimum top 10 in the NFL after being the 32nd. And you could argue we weren't the worst last year. You could argue we were 30th, or 31st, or 29th. I don't care. Whether we were 29th, 30th, 31st, or 32nd, we are now undisputably in the top 10. That is growth. And that is 100% the head coach. 100%. Of course, you get better talent. We knew he had to get better talent. Did you not expect to get better talent? How were we not going to get better talent? We knew that they had just stripped the roster. Of course we had to get better talent. You're going to take away the credit to the coach because we got better talent? We didn't bring in Lawrence Taylor and Sauce Gardner and Mark Gastineau and Joe Klecko. We didn't bring in 5 superstars. Yes, JG did a great job putting Reed in there and Sauce. He totally revamped our secondary. He gave us an elite secondary. Carl Lawson came back from injury. Wasn't dominant, though. Wasn't dominant. JJ and Clemens were rookies. They played well. They weren't dominant. That's coaching. Whitehead didn't even play good. We played without safeties. Were our linebackers that much better? This is the system. The system. They got better at the system. We made some improvements, but most of it is learning the system, giving them a chance, giving the system a chance. And look, because that's why New England continues to win, even though Tom Brady left. Why is New England still a playoff contender? Because they've been playing the same system year after year after year, because they don't just run around and fire everybody. Because they're little babies, because they're mad that we lost. Because that's what it would be. If Woody Johnson fired Saleh, it would be an emotional reaction of a 10-year-old. Because he'd be overlooking the fact that he made our defense go from 32nd to the top 10. And what was the difference between the defense and the offense? The defense wasn't riddled with injuries. The defense didn't have a major disappointment in the quarterback position. Our middle linebacker was fine. He might be overpaid, but he was fine. Our leader and play caller on the defense was healthy. With the exception of 5 plays the entire year. What was different on the offense? Well, our captain of the offense, our quarterback of the offense, our leader of the offense was not fine. No matter who we put in the position, we didn't get the play we needed from them. We don't have anybody. We thought we did with this rookie. It didn't work out. Maybe it will in 2 years, but he's not there yet. So we had to turn to guys like Joe Flacco, way past his prime. Mike White. Whatever he's going to be, you could love him or hate him. It doesn't matter. What does he have? 6 starts, 7 starts in his life? Then, even when he's playing well, he bruises his ribs and gets hurt. I mean, there's a reason our offense struggled this year. But even with that, there were some improvements. We got to see that. Unfortunately, he got hurt. We got to see that we have a freaking franchise running back. We got to see that we have a true WR1 receiver. We got to see that AVT is a future all-pro offensive lineman, any position you want to stick him. This wasn't a year of all bad. This wasn't a year where everything went wrong and it's just nothing good to take from it. We have a chance to double our wins. We were in playoff contention until January 1st. So when's the last time on January 1st the Jets were not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs? On January 1st when we woke up. When's the last time that happened? Just because you question, so it's fine. My opinion, you have an opinion that you don't think Saleh has it. That's fine. But you can't deny all these things. These things are real. You woke up on January 1st and your team had a chance to make the playoffs. With a second-year coach. Without a quarterback and a decimated offensive line. Somehow he put together enough wins that even with the losses, we were still in it. Yeah, 10, 11 wins was attainable if we didn't have all those injuries. Name me another NFL team that would have survived that. So if Buffalo loses, would have lost 3 more because they did lose an offensive lineman. If the Buffalo Bills lost 3 other offensive linemen and only had 1 regular starter, 1 guy playing super hurt, and the other 3 plugins, and they were rotating all year, and no Josh Allen. Take away their great quarterback. Take away their great quarterback and take away their offensive line. What's the Buffalo Bills? How would they do? What happened to Miami? How'd they do? They didn't even have the injuries we had. Look at what Miami did. Go to any team in the league. Throw a bad quarterback onto Denver. They didn't get the quarterback play. They lost their running back. Look what Denver. Even before they lost their running back, was Denver doing anything? You don't think it affects a team? You don't think it impacts a team when the quarterback doesn't work out and doesn't even play competently, and the entire offensive line gets hurt? You're just going to ignore that and say the coach should have somehow found a way? He tried. He kept us in games with a great defense. The offense could not do anything. We couldn't score. We didn't have the players. Everybody got hurt. Yes, it was obtainable. If we didn't have the injuries, if AVT and Breece Hall do not go down, $10 wins. 10 wins. There's no way I won't believe that if Brees Hall's healthy, we don't win that New England game where neither of us scored, and it was 3-3. We definitely, Brees Hall would have broke something. He would have gotten us into field goal range a couple of times. No doubt in my mind. No question in my mind. There's a game right there. But, I mean, I don't see how you could blame Robert Saleh because we don't have a quarterback who could play football. We were a championship-level team. We were competing with the teams right now that have double-digit wins. We were competing with them. We were right there at their level. The coach put us in that position. We were right there without a quarterback, with backup quarterbacks, with a beat-up offensive line. He kept us in. He held it together so deep into the season. But what could he do? What is it? What realistic? Name me another team that lost and had this many injuries. Please go through history and find a team that was this beat up, that had this poor of a quarterback, that lost 4 out of 5 offensive linemen, lost their best running back, their other wide receiver, the veteran wide receiver for a portion of the season. Go find me a coach that did better. I don't get it. How long have you watched football? Do you pay attention to other teams? You haven't seen every other team this happens to? Every team in football collapses when their entire team gets hurt. I mean, and now we're going to judge him. We're going to guess he doesn't hold people accountable. How do you know? You're not back in the locker room. He doesn't hold people accountable. We haven't seen people benched. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You haven't seen people's roles reduced. I have. What are you talking about? He hasn't held people accountable. Yes, he has. I thought he wasn't, but he does. He holds people accountable. We're watching people take less snaps. We're watching people being held accountable. Did he not bench Zach? It's not accountability? Snowball wants me to interact. I don't interact with my fans. I don't have fans. I have viewers. Fans. The ones that Jets Chaos fans, Snowball. You're not a fan. You don't cheer and boo me. Maybe you do. I don't know. Just a guy talking. Sometimes I'm going to go on a rant, and sometimes I'm going to focus on the chat. I mean, it's like each stream is different, Snowball. Sometimes I have to let out and talk. And sometimes I talk, and sometimes I interact, and sometimes we have guests and we look at tape. We do different things. Right now, I'm letting out a rant. But you know what? Again, opinion. As soon as Micro said opinion, thank you. Opinion. That's all I'm asking Micro Fox to say. It's my opinion. So I'm asking anybody to say. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I need to see a therapist. It just rubs me the wrong way when people don't say in my opinion. It rubs me the wrong way when people say it like it's the fact. It's a fact. I think that we should clarify our opinions, and we should clarify facts. You know what I mean? It's like that's just the way I feel. It's like it bothers me when people speak like they know something and it's a fact, and it's like I don't understand how you got this information. You're a fan like me. Did it come from somewhere? Like, I don't know where the information comes from. So, you know, I mean, I'm just like I want this to be a discussion. I just hope when people respond to my videos and stuff, they could just make it a discussion. Jeremy, I disagree. I think Jameis Winston sucks. Fine. Instead of coming in and say, you're stupid and you're an idiot. This is the worst take in the world. Jameis Winston could never be good. You see the difference? You know, like, and I know it's not you guys, but I get attacked. I get attacked for having a different opinion than people. It's amazing. Matthew Smith is my number one fan. Sign your forehead. Fan. You guys aren't fans. Come on, fans. That's such a weird term. Fans. Come on, you're viewers. You support the channel. You're part of the channel. Snowball, you're like, we're viewers. We're doing this. I'm just the guy that hosts. I'm the guy that sets up the space for us to hang out and talk. Yeah, I get to say the most because I got the mic. But, that's why I do the call-in stuff. So you can call in and talk. But, fans, like, I'm a Sauce Gardner fan. That's a fan, like, Sauce Gardner or his fan. I don't know. It's just embarrassing. Someone says fan. Should I go down and tell my wife I have to stay online because I have my fans to think about? Think of how that would sound. My wife would like freaking throw up all over the place. One day I'm going to have some super fans. Well, I have snackers. How about that? I have snackers. Yeah, like, okay, so I agree this was a mistake. I agree 100%. Now, he did hire Greg Knapp and a tragedy hit, but he should have replaced Knapp. Like when tragedy hit, he should have went and found more experience, and he should never have given Mike LaFleur the OC job. I think he should, and he didn't even have to. They're like family. He would have came anyway. He should have said passing coordinator, and that's it. So I agree with that. In my opinion, Mike LaFleur should not have been made the offensive coordinator. You're a first-time head coach. You should go with an experienced offensive coordinator. It's the same thing. Like if my company puts a new principal in, an experienced first-year principal, no way do you hire a first-year assistant principal. You bring in an experienced assistant principal. For sure. You got to balance it out. So, like, to me, absolutely. I don't care about Ulbrich on the defense because Saleh is more of a defensive-minded coach anyway. So I don't mind him having a protege that he teaches how to do the defense. But with the offense, he should have had a senior guy. I think he tried with Knapp, but I think for the play calling, for everything, you need a veteran, experienced offensive coordinator. But guess what? Now Mike LaFleur is 2 years experience. So I'm very iffy on Mike LaFleur. Very iffy. But I will still stand by he gets a third year. Super fans. I did let out my steam. I'm letting out my steam. I love the rants. I know, of course, you love to throw gas on them. That's why I don't know why you changed your name, though. Because every time I used to see your old name, I used to think of my favorite whiskey, Knob Creek. So, I missed that. You see, this is what I love. Lots and lots of excuses how the Giants look. So the Giants, look. I mean, Tomlin is a coach for how long? You talk about one of the great head coaches of all time. We're going to compare Saleh to Tomlin? Again, I said it before. Pittsburgh has had the same system for 18 years, year after year, the same system. We were in year 2 of a system. Tomlin's incredible. The Giants are incredible, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to say that's the expectation, William? That's the expectation. You got to be great by your second year because other teams have struck gold and found someone who did it their first year. That's called an anomaly. It's called it's the off thing. It's not the norm. Just because someone struck gold and it's not, like if you find a star rookie quarterback, that doesn't mean that every quarterback that comes into the league has to be a star their first year to be good. It's not the norm. Yeah, it's great what the Giants did. Did you see the Giants schedule? You know who the Giants quarterback is? You might not think Daniel Jones is that good, but he's 50 times better than anything we had at quarterback. So that coach that took over the Giants had a competent quarterback. And he had a running back named Saquon Barkley. And his offensive line didn't get decimated. So you're deciding that the Giants don't have talent, but I don't know how true that is. The Giants have a great offensive line filled with young studs. They have one of the best running backs in the NFL. And they have a seasoned, at worst, middle-of-the-road quarterback, competent quarterback. So you're going to compare that? And then look at their season and tell me who they beat. Tell me who they beat. Now I know they beat teams we didn't beat, but we're talking about decimated. Don't compare the Giants to the Jets. We are decimated. We lost everyone. We lost everything. The injuries we've had to overcome are ridiculous. But you know what? Maybe this coach for the Giants would have overcome it. So what? He's not our coach, dude. What does that have to do with it? Do you know who the next Cable is? Whatever his name is? If you know who he is, tell me. Who's the coach that would have gotten the Jets to 10, 11 wins this year with this quarterback situation and the injury situation with our offensive line? Tell me who you know it is. Because Tomlin is not available. Andy Reid is not available. Belichick is not available. That's the point. We're trying to find out if Robert Saleh could develop into one of those kind of coaches. That's the whole point. But those coaches didn't just appear magically. At least 90% of them, 95% of them. Most of the great coaches, they weren't that good their first couple of years. You're talking about anomalies. Like if you want to sit there and hire a new coach every year until we find one, good luck. That's not the way I think you should build a team. Saleh doesn't help himself with his performances in the big pressers. Yeah, he definitely isn't. Yeah. I definitely agree. I'm not saying that Saleh is going to be a Hall of Fame coach. I'm not saying that Saleh is going to be the coach in a year from now, after next year. I'm saying that Saleh gets one more year. That's all I'm saying. Saleh gets one more year. You want an example of inexperienced coach doing something stupid? Pete Carroll, when he did this and he did the choke sign with his first year coaching when he was a Jet at the other team when they missed a field goal. That's immaturity. That's the kind of thing you have to deal with when you want to have. But the point is, like every position in this world, we don't start off at our best. We don't. Every position. I mean, like pretty much. There's very few jobs. You could work at Burger King the first day, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. You ever wait online in a fast food restaurant when they have a new employee? You want to rip your hair out? I don't have any hair to rip out. Sometimes it takes time. And sometimes it would be nice if that time didn't include ridiculous, brutal injuries. Not an excuse. How could you say it's not an excuse? Like I wish I knew what your job was, to that guy William. I wish I knew what your job was. And then let me come in and rip apart your job. Make it impossible for you and then yell at you and say, well, this other guy did it. And see how you feel. I know, I didn't say you, Micro. I'm saying there were people who come onto my channel, onto the videos, and say, like, they just attack me. That's all I was talking about. Not you. I'm not saying you attack me, Micro. You're a great supporter of the channel that I just get upset with or frustrated with when you talk factually. But when I talk about people attacking me, no, you don't attack me. You're my friend. You're my friend. Jeremy, your head looks enormous on my 65-inch screen. Oh my God, you're watching me on a 65-inch screen, dude? Jesus, that's gonna stick in my head now. I don't have a fan club. I have a membership club, like a member. You could become a member. Like if you go to the main page, there's a little join button, and for the price of a cup of coffee, you could be a member. And then you get this really cool thing next to your name, like this, and then you could never get in trouble. No matter what Joe says, he can't get in trouble because he's got that little membership thing. He's a snacker. That protects him. I'm not allowed to yell at my snackers. I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to complain if they beat me in a fantasy football championship because the game wasn't finished. I'm not allowed to complain. I just got to smile and say, good job. Congratulations on winning the championship in fantasy football. Congratulations, you won. See? Because you're a snacker. Otherwise, I'd be telling you your win is empty. On the downfall of Western civilization. The downfall of the Western civilization. Ohio Jets fans. I love that we got an Ohio now. Like, I remember we have an Indiana Jets fan, and there's Utah Jets fan, and of course, there's the famous Iowan Jets fan. Now we have an Ohio Jets fan. I used to be Sacramento Jet fan. That was my first name, by the way, in case that ever comes up as a trivia question. We're chaos enthusiasts. Thanks. And after Buffalo Jets fans' success, Maybe I should have stayed Sacramento Jets fan. Maybe I made a mistake. I love you too, man. Thank you. I can't help being humble, Matt. I'm a humble guy. At least I try to be. Second you stop being humble, you forget who you are. You're not the same person anymore, right? You got to stay who you are. So we don't lose this magical connection we all have. None of you want me to change, right? Have you seen anybody on YouTube change? Like sometimes, or have you known anyone in your life who has some success and they change? Isn't that like the worst thing in the world? Branch from Alabama for safety. Safety. I love him. I love him. That's who I want. I mean, I want an offensive tackle, but I love him. We were talking, me and some of the guys were talking. When I say some of the guys, the other YouTube guys, we stay connected on a thread on Twitter, on a message thread. And we were all talking about if the Jets end up like with the, let's say 10, 11 or 12 pick and somebody at 20 wants to trade down with us. And then we trade down and we get like an extra second pick and maybe next year's second or whatever we get. And then we go branch with the 20th pick, and then we take 2 offensive linemen in the second round. Like grab a tackle and a center, or whichever, whatever. But we were talking about those possibilities. But I love Branch, dude. He's like, for where we're drafting, he's like a top 3 name for me. You know what I mean? That Paris guy, Junior, the offensive tackle, he's a name for me. Branch is a name for me. Like those 2 names are names for me. You know. There's the other tackle that I really like, Peter Straczynski, whatever his name is. I like him too. And then I really like the center from Minnesota, Schmitz or something. I call him Jingerheimer Schmitz, the center from Minnesota. I like him a lot. I don't think you have to be tripping to like Frank Reich. Frank Reich is a decent coach. I don't know what his best position would be. Like, I don't know if Frank Reich's best thing is head coach or offensive coordinator or quarterback coach. Like, I'm not going to sit there. I don't really have an opinion or can't claim to know at this moment in my head what the best position for Frank Reich is. But I will say he's, by the way, he wasn't the guy benching Matt Ryan and blowing up their season. That was the owner. The owner was the one who calls all the shots. So if Frank Reich was allowed to have just ran the team the way he wanted without the owner interference, I think Matt Ryan would have stayed. I think that they would have gotten better. I think they would have done the same thing we watched some of the other teams do, like Jacksonville. And they would have had a push. I think they would have pushed. They were 3-5-1. I think they would have won. I think if you look at their schedule, they would have won the game against the Raiders that Jeff Saturday won. They would have been 4-5-1. And then I think they would have, from there, would have had a much better record if I think they tanked the season. Anyway, I mean, that's just my opinion. See what I did? It is. It's just my opinion. I think that the Colts would be, especially how we've seen how it panned out. Like you could be 8-8 and in the playoff race. You think the owner was thinking of that at the time? They were 3-5-1. There's no reason they could have gotten back to 500 or over 500. There's no reason they couldn't have done it. The Colts are a talented team. That was the owner. That was all the owner. Frank Reich is a good coach. He would be a great addition to our, to us. I don't know if he's the guy for OC. I'm not saying that, but like, imagine you made him an assistant head coach / quarterback coach, just to give him a reason to take the job. Well, we'll give you the assistant head coach title. Give him all kinds of money, but really have him focus in as the quarterback coach. I don't think that's a horrible thing. I was going to win anyway, and you know it. Projected to win by 20. Come on. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I gave myself. I mean, I still would have liked the opportunity because I did have a running back and quarterback in that game, and Cincinnati was looking good. Like I had Burrow, and Burrow threw a touchdown pass. And it was only the first quarter, and he had already done a touchdown pass. And I had Singletary, the running back from Buffalo. You don't know. He may have gotten some, 1 yard line stand touchdowns or something. He may have broken one. Honestly, I agree. I mean, I think it was 60%, 65% you won. But I would have liked my 35% chance. I would have liked the opportunity to see the game point out, but you're not going to see me complain. You know what I like a lot better? You know what I wanted a lot more than winning that fantasy championship? I wanted that kid to be okay. And it looks like that kid's going to be okay. So I could be at peace with you winning the championship, my brother. Congratulations. I won the Jets Talk 24/7 league. And that was a bigger league. And I'm excited about winning that league because then Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7 has to know that another YouTube content creator, Jets Chaos, was the winner of his league. Adam, what's going on? But thank you for the super chat. I appreciate the super chat, my friend. Thank you. And I look forward to, again, you said something about being a chef in some hotel in North Carolina, but you didn't tell me the name of the hotel. But I'll look on that app for the information because I want my brother, if it's the kind of hotel where it's normal to go in and just eat because the food's really good, my brother and my family's there. They live there. So, they might be interested. If you see a guy that looks like, not like Lee, but like my other brother, Matthew, if you see a guy that looks like me, but with hair, you could say, hey, that's Chaos's brother. Someone said that Chaos was the perfect name for me. Thank you. Saw that. If we fired Saleh, it would immediately be a top higher priority. Not as a head coach. I think he'd have a chance to be a head coach somewhere else, but I don't know that he'd be an immediate priority for head coach. A lot of times people get fired and they have to bounce down to a coordinator again. But he'd absolutely be heavily, heavily pursued as a coordinator because look at what his resume says. Did really good did good in Seattle, did good in Jacksonville, goes to San Francisco, horrible in 2018, turns it around, builds one of the best defenses in the NFL. Maybe it was bad in 19, whatever. Coordinator of an amazing, an elite defense, comes to the Jets. No talent on the roster. They start building a team. 32nd best defense year 1, year 2, top 10, arguably top 5. To me, there's no question. The 49ers are already salivating. And their defense didn't even take a bad hit. They have a good coordinator who took over that worked for Saleh. And they're still salivating over the chance that the Jets might fire Robert Saleh. They're all Grant Cohn, their YouTube content guy, is all over it. He did a whole video on it saying, "Will the Niners get Robert Saleh back if the Jets fire him?" They're already circling. The vultures are already circling. They're already circling. That's why we can't fire him yet. Let's see if he gives us the best defense in the NFL. What if he brings us what if he went from 32nd to 8th and next year we're the best defense in the NFL? What if that happens? Then all we need is some kind of competent quarterback play. The offensive line to somehow stay healthy, reasonably healthy, and for our running game to be good. You get number 1 defense and a good running game and a quarterback that's just competent, we have a chance. Definitely will have a chance. We acquire Carr. I love Jimmy G, but he's perpetually injured. That is an issue. Feed the fat rabbit. White was your quarterback too. Zach goes onto the porch like Old Yeller. He must be shot. Well, you understand why we got to keep Zach as our QB3, right? Because I think that we'll choose to not take the $20 million cap hit. And even if we don't dress him, just keep him inactive for the entire year. It's better than taking the $20 dead cap hit, especially if we want to be able to pay Carr. If we get Derek Carr, everything's different. Everything changes if we get Derek Carr. Can you imagine we come back, top 3 NFL defense, we take another step forward. Our offensive line comes back. We draft somebody, we add help that way, and they come back and much healthier and better. And we have Derek Carr behind center. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. We're a contender if that happens. Definitely a playoff team, but maybe even deep playoffs and contend, something very real. Then all of a sudden we're not talking about Robert Saleh anymore. Right? Well, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you, Feed the Fat Rabbit. I've seen you on Green Bean's channel, As you know, I'm the producer. I sit in the back and I tell them about all the super chats. So I know your name, but I didn't know you come here. So I appreciate you being here listening to me. Thank you. I apologize to anybody out there who doesn't like the rant or got offended, but you know I have to do it sometimes. Sometimes I have to rant. It's just me. My channel has always had that. You know? Are you talking about Grant Cohn? Oh, this show is great. Thank you. You talking about me? Well, you're welcome, Malcolm. I appreciate that. Just sub up and like it. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the super chat again. I want to say one more time, thank you, because I really do never want to underappreciate the super chats. It means a lot to me. Rice is a quarterback coach, assistant OC. Yeah, I would like to find a way, right? Because let's be honest. Let's be honest about this. Saleh's not going to. He's not going to fire Mike LaFleur. And he's not going to want to demote him. So what do you do? How do you, to be tactful, like what is he going to do? Right. And I know people are going to be pissed at this because screw him, just fire him. No, they're not going to. But what's the likely thing he could do? Well, if he brought Reich in as a quarterback coach and you could call him an assistant head coach. And the reason you do that is because if he's the assistant head coach, then you could very lightly go up to Mike LaFleur and say, hey, we're going to let Frank Reich call the plays. See what I did there? So, yeah, you're the offensive coordinator, but we're going to let Frank Reich call the plays because he's the assistant head coach. And this way, Mike LaFleur is still the offensive coordinator. Still his system, and he still gets he still gets next year to prove himself. And it's a step back. Everybody will know this is all symbolism, and it was a step back. But but he's on the team. He's still the coordinator, and he has a chance to regroup. And he has a chance to move forward with his life, and his career. Because understand, Mike LaFleur is a young kid. So we have to stop saying everything of who he is for the rest of his life. Because if you're 26, you could be a very, very different person when you're 36. If you're 36, you could be a very different person when you're 46. So you might think Mike LaFleur stinks right now, but you cannot tell me what Mike LaFleur is going to be in 10 years. In 10 years, he might be the best offensive coordinator in the NFL. You don't know. You don't know because we're watching the hard part. We're watching the part where even great coaches will say, oh, I was a shit show my first 2 years. You don't know that any of this is permanent. Even if you're right, those of you that don't like him, that don't like Mike LaFleur, even if you're right and he's not good right now, you really can't know for sure that he's never going to be good. Right? I mean, come on. Like, we can't go that far. You're not good and you'll never be good. You'll never amount to anything, McFly. You're a slacker. Your dad was a slacker too. Right? We're not that bald, principal. Back to the Future. Maybe not. Mike LaFleur is not the best coordinator right now. Maybe he needed more time in the oven. But I hope we're not going to sit here and just decide now things for people's fate. That they'll never be good at something. That's a little extreme. That starts to feel hateful. You know what I mean? Yeah, isn't that crazy? I think, but here's the thing, Joe. Because I see the other guy's coming out too, Battle, who stayed last year, and then they have that other guy I don't know the name of. But Branch, if you watch that last Alabama game, that bowl game, and I'm not basing it on one game. I already liked Branch before that, but he was like the guy who stood out, right? I mean, he was clearly the best guy on the field for Alabama when the defense was in. Clearly, he was the best guy on the field. Like, he was the guy doing everything. He was the guy. He was the defense. He was making the tackles for losses. He was creating and making the turnovers. He was the guy. That's why I love Branch, man. I love Branch. But you're right. They got 3 guys. All could be real NFL players. I think Branch is going to be a stud. I think Branch is going to be a stud. I think he's going to be stealing from Dom C. He's going to be like the guy. He got hurt. God damn it. He got hurt. Who's he play for? Not Detroit. Not Minnesota. Chicago. That guy, that safety, the one that Chicago drafted that we all liked. Forgetting his name right now. But all around guy, Branch. Branch is the all around one, right? Branch is can get interceptions, coverage. He's free safety, but he also could play in the box, man. He could cut space. He could avoid tackles. He can get to the football, make tackles behind the line of scrimmage. And also, and most importantly, not allow 4th and 1 touchdowns like we saw against Detroit. You have a guy like Brian Branch on your team, suddenly those things might stop happening because he's that kind of player. He's your back line, man. You know what I mean? If it gets past everyone else, he's there. He'll find a way to get to whoever has the ball. He'll stop it. I remember the fake spike game. I remember. You remember it too. Pete Carroll. It's amazing. I've watched Pete Carroll go from a young coach. I grew up when he was a young coach who had to learn from the choke experience. I watched him get fired. I watched him go and become a defensive coordinator for the 49ers to go back into the oven and learn more and grow. Then he went to USC and he won a national title. I watched the evolution of that coach. And now he's this guy that's over 70. He's the oldest coach of the NFL, I think. It's weird to watch a whole cycle like that. But I watched the whole thing. I watched that guy's whole career from when he was a defensive coordinator for the Jets. I was going to send this. I was going to have this show go on the 49er Chaos channel also. But I hadn't hooked it up yet. But it's so funny you say that because I was going to do it. I was going to feed this StreamYard to both channels because I thought it was relevant to the 49ers question too. And I was going to name the video, Is Saleh going back to the 49ers? But that channel has like no followers. By the way, for those of you who are scratching their head, I have a channel called 49ers Chaos. Let me explain. They're on the western side. I live on the western side of the country. They don't really play the Jets. I mean, they will eventually, and then I'll root for the Jets. But as somebody who wants to take a step into exploring whether he could retire a little earlier in life and be a professional YouTuber, I felt like I needed to do just more than just the Jets. Because, first of all, the Jets have like a crazy number of YouTube content providers. So there's only so much. You know what I mean? And it's not that we compete with each other. It's just that there's only so much content out there. And the 49ers have one real YouTube content provider. And he has access to the locker room. So it's not even the same thing. He's like real media. It's like Jake Assman. Even though he doesn't have, but I don't know if he has the access this guy has. But it's just a comparison. It's like if Jake Assman was the only Jet YouTube content provider, and everybody else were just guys with 400 subs, it would make the opportunity to be a Jet YouTube provider a lot bigger because there's only one show in town, and Jake is great, but it's one show in town, and sometimes you want a different perspective. Well, the 49ers give me that opportunity. And not only that, it gives me an opportunity to be a less emotional perspective, like a perspective of a guy who's lives out in Sacramento. I'm going to root for the 49ers, but it's not the passion of the Jets. The Jets is my life. Jets is on my shoulder, right? It's right here, right? The 49ers will never be this. It's never going to be on my arm, but I could root for them when they're not playing the Jets. Like when the Niners play next week in the playoffs, I could root for them. I could get to know them. I could talk about them and have discussions about them and be very objective, and not be biased and have a channel, have a different channel. It's not going to compromise this channel. I'm never going to stop doing this channel because I love the Jets and I love doing this channel. But if you were deciding that you wanted to do something professionally and maybe have it replace, I'll never be able to be a professional YouTuber where I don't work, but I might be able to retire sooner. Like, so with my pension, Social Security, like with everything else, I might be able to do it one day. So I was thinking, when I turn 59, 60, I would love to retire, but I'm not going to have enough money. But if I build this up over the next 7, 8 years, might be able to do it. So I decided that I was going to have to do another channel, because if I'm going to have all that time eventually, why wouldn't I be able to successfully run 2, 3, even 4 channels? So, just so you guys know, I have a channel called 49ers Chaos. No, I'm not a trader. I'm not a trader. I just love doing sports coverage and takes and analysis and making videos and doing, and I don't really do talk shows for them, but I'm going to. But it's never going to come at the cost of this channel, because this is my passion. This is my love. When I do the 49ers stuff, it's like, oh, I got to make a video. You know what I mean? Better than any other job. I'd love to do it professionally. I'd be much happier, but not to the point of the passion I have for this channel. So Jets Mess, he's a snacker. He's a snacker. Love this guy. But anyway, it's 49ers Chaos. If you want to go there and sub, if you want to see the videos I put up there, you'll get a laugh. And when I do the talk shows, Jets Mess comes in all the time and will make a comment. The last time I was doing it, he came in and started talking, even though I was doing a Niners show. It's called 49ers Chaos. And eventually, I got to decide my third channel, what it's going to be. I don't put any effort into that 49ers Chaos channel yet. One day I'm going to have time, or I'm going to commit myself to doing it. And then I have ideas for a third channel. But the third channel can't be football. I'm thinking of going a different direction. So if you guys have any ideas, let me know. I was thinking I can't do a food channel. There's too much food. I had that idea early and I blew it. I was early enough in the game where I could have built a very successful food channel that I didn't. I was doing pizza video reviews when I lived in New York. I was going to pizza places. I was filming videos of myself eating the pizza, talking about it. And people, when I put it on Facebook, at the time it was Facebook that I put the videos up, were asking me for them. My friend Dave, who was once on the show, Dave Whistler, he lives in Portland. He was asking me, he said, man, I love those videos. When I go to New York, I want to try those pizza places. And you're so funny in them. You take it so seriously. And I was like, man, like if I would have pursued it back then, man, if I would have known or understood, I don't know. Right now I'd have a freaking pizza review channel on YouTube. Probably have 20,000 subs or something. Maybe even more. Because pizza is more universal. The highest Jet content provider is at like 30,000 subs. I don't know if you can go any higher than that. I don't know if there's more than 30,000 people, Jet fans, that care about YouTube and watching Jets content. No. The Jets providers are in chaos. We're all like, it's so funny because like everybody's doing the same exact videos. The 40 whiners and cheese show. It's interesting because their fans are whiners, man. If you heard the way they talk about Jimmy G, you'd think Jimmy G was Zach Wilson in his rookie year. They talk about him like he's such garbage. Even when they were winning and before he was hurt, they were complaining about him. He's not good. Did you see the pass he missed? The guy would throw like 70% completion rate, have a 110 quarterback rating, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 250 yards, and they complain about him. That's the difference between no perspective. Like if you haven't suffered and never had a quarterback, and you've had Joe Montana and Steve Young and Garcia and all the quarterbacks they've had, that's the difference. You complain when you get a Jimmy G. Yeah, he hasn't been a winner yet. Johnny Marahiel, he hasn't been a winner yet, but it's been 2 years. And I've never, very rarely in my life, except when you take over a championship team, have I seen a NFL coach, any NFL coach, start their career with a Super Bowl. I've seen guys do it with Super Bowl teams, like Switzer was his name for Dallas. I don't count that because he wasn't really a coach. He let the coordinators do it. He was just a cheerleader. He didn't change anything. And then the year after that first Super Bowl, Dallas went to crap because players started leaving, and he actually had to start being a head coach. Maybe Mike Tomlin with Pittsburgh, but again, system year after year. I don't know if the Steelers went to a Super Bowl within his first 2 years. They may have. Other than that, I can't think of anyone. I can't think of a head coach that was great in their first 2 years. But I can think of a lot of great coaches that weren't. Bill Belichick was not a great coach first 2 years of his career. People will say, well, he didn't have a quarterback. Well, does Saleh have a quarterback? At least Saleh made his defense go from 32nd to top 10 in 1 year. So I could say that for Saleh. At least Saleh kept us in the season. January 1st, we still had a chance to make the playoffs. Can't say that for any coach we've had in a long time. So I don't know, man. I don't know how we could decide that he can never be a great coach, or he can never be a good coach, or or cannot be the coach. I don't know how we say that after 2 years. I don't know how we say that after he made our defense go from 32 to top 10 to maybe even to arguably top 5. I don't know how we ignore that. I don't know how we ignore the fact that we did not have a quarterback, and that's not his fault. I don't know how we could ignore the fact that he didn't have an offensive line. They were decimated with injuries. Not his fault. And say that we know for sure that he can't be a great coach when he's only had 2 years, took over a team that was 2-14 with no roster, and then couldn't make the playoffs or couldn't finish the season strong with no offensive line and no quarterback. Because I just don't know of any example of a quarterback who overcame, a coach who overcame all that. I just don't know. I can't think of a coach that overcame all of that. Change what filter? Do I have a filter? What filter do I have? Did you have something not make it on? Sometimes if I don't have a moderator in here, there's nobody here to approve certain chat messages. So I just don't have the help here. Sorry, my wife is asking what to order because someone asked me about my diet, so I'll give you information on that in a second. I'm just saying trust you. So anyway, so now instead of saying should I order Chinese food or hamburgers, she's saying should I order another whole food order and get more strawberries, raspberries? So I started my I started my diet on Sunday, January 1st. I'll let you call in, brother. Give me a second. I started my diet on January 1st. Actually, January 2nd was the first official day because January 1st is a holiday, as Green Bean likes to make fun of me for. January 1st is a holiday, so I decided that I still get to eat. And then January 2nd, which was a Monday, I started dieting. And that was just this past Monday. By the way, this is the longest week of my life. Doesn't it feel like forever ago that safety got hurt? Doesn't it feel like forever ago? I went from, I can't tell you how many things happened in my life since Monday. Some of it really bad with my dog. Some of it good with my diet. Some of it would good because my house survived the worst storm ever that Sacramento's ever seen. But anyway, it's been the longest week of my life. And for good and bad reasons. But what was I saying? I lost my train of thought even. So but anyway, my diet, that's what I was talking about. I did manage. I always lose a lot the first week. I always lose a lot because you're being a pig, and suddenly you stop being a pig. So you lose the water weight. So I did lose 7 pounds from Monday, starting on Monday to this morning on Saturday. So it hasn't been a full week and I'm down 7 pounds. So I'm kind of happy about that because at least I'm successfully losing that water weight or whatever they call it. But I know it's going to get much harder to lose weight as we move forward because then your body starts to fight you. It doesn't want to give up an inch. Oh, go back to yourself. Look, John. Okay, Professor. I'm doing it, Professor. I'm going back to that comment. Professor, don't fail me. The reason Professor Marahi, I'll always call him Professor, is because he was literally a professor at Stony Brook University, my college. I think when I was there, I graduated 94. So I was there from 91 to 94. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Professor Marahil was a professor at Stony Brook at that time. Right? Right, Johnny? So to me, that means that when I was in college, you were a professor. You were someone, when I was walking on campus. I was very respectful, by the way. I was raised right. I would have said, "Good afternoon, professor." And now you're yelling at me to show your comments about the Jets. My wife already knows about you. She's like, "I want to meet him. If we go down to San Diego, Southern California, let's go to Palm Springs. I want to meet him for dinner. I want to talk to this guy. I want to talk to him and ask him about Stony Brook and being a professor." And like so my wife already wants to meet you, sir. Anyway, fact number 1, Saleh shares blame with JD for this mess. Yeah. In order to get Michael LaFleur from San Francisco, he had to come in as OC because any other title would not have been an appropriate promotion. Yeah, I was saying that. I was saying, could he have gotten them with the same title because they were friends and family, and I wasn't sure. But that's what you typically have to do, right? You have to typically, when you take your coaching staff with you, everybody gets a promotion. That's just the way it works. That's why I think that they could have had that's why I think Knapp should have from the beginning been the assistant head coach, consultant / play caller. And then Mike LaFleur still gets his promotion and is an offensive coordinator. Let me do some call in here. So give me a second to figure this out. Let's see. I have to go to invite. I have to copy the link. Copied. I'm going to put it in the chat in YouTube, and then I'm going to pin it. And there it goes. And now I'm going to pin it. Pin message. So now it's pinned so everybody has access to it. That is, if you want to call in, this is now officially a call-in show. I try to meet people's requests. You ask me something, I'll do it. There's no reason why I had to say no to that question. Who am I? I've talked enough by myself. So you have every right to come in. Anyway, back to that filter question. The reason that if some of your messages aren't showing, it's because I don't have a moderator here helping me in the YouTube app, helping saying yes. Because what will happen is you'll say, "I think that was shitty of this wide receiver to say," and because it sees the word shitty, it doesn't show it, and you have to hit yes or no. So I don't have anybody, to do that. So I don't want to debate. He says, "Oh, great. He has something. Oh, no, he wants to come in and have a debate." I don't want to debate. I want to share opinions, have different opinions. Debate. Debate is trying to have a winner or a loser. I don't think there's a winner or a loser because we're just giving. Oh, okay. You see, he's just kidding. I just think we're giving our opinions. That's all. What's great is most of the opinions, we're going to know who is right and who is wrong anyway. So that's why I don't listen when people get heated over it. Like when people get really heated and start fighting with each other, when their opinions are different, it's so silly to me because they're going to find out. See, I see Skip's a loser. So let me say show. Okay. I don't know who Skip is, but I'll probably Skip, the guy from that ESPN. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's weird that people fight so much over it. Like, guess what? Anybody who's saying Zach is going to be a great quarterback someday, anybody who gets mad at them and says, "You're stupid, you're this," and they get all heated and Zach sucks and this and that, just remember, we're going to know. Like, Zach's career is he's going to end up somewhere else or here or whatever happens. In 2 or 3 years, at some point, we're going to know. So we don't have to get heated. We could have our different opinions. And if Zach ends up a great quarterback, the people with those opinions are going to say, "I told you." And the people who say that he's a bust, if in 3 years he's not even in the league or if he's still a backup somewhere, they're going to say, "Told you." I think he might be in the league for a long time because Josh Rosen is still in the league. He's still in the league. No, not a professor at Stony Brook U, but I taught in Indiana, Stony Brook. Oh, so we mixed up our Stony Brooks. Oh, you taught in Stony Brook, the same Stony Brook, but you weren't a professor. How's that possible? If you teach in a college, aren't you a professor? I'm gonna call the Stony Brook and make a complaint. I want you to start receiving professor retirement pension. If you taught at Stony Brook, you deserve the title professor. What are you saying, Ice Face? Ice Force. What are you saying? What's your point? Win next year and I'll stick with Saleh. Lose, then I'm going to be very upset with this. I kind of feel like that too. I'm a third year kind of guy. Unless it's like an Adam Gase situation. Unless the coach is just like, if it's a situation like that, he's got to go. But Saleh has done enough because of the improvement in the defense. That's what saves his job. If the defense was still 32nd in the NFL, yeah, we managed to win 7 games, but 32nd in the NFL defense with the offense the way it is, no growth, no improvement. Okay. But to me, in my opinion, what saves his job, where I'm willing to wait another year, is that the defense got so good. And I think that has a lot to do with Robert Saleh. We need Trevor Bauer. Well, hide your wives. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Gase, oh boy, he was bad. But then again, Gase, like, look, even with Gase, when you say, well, why was it okay to fire him without a third year? Even Gase, if you really consider it, like if you think about it, he got worse, right? He was 7-9 his first year, and then he went to 2-14. So he got worse, fell apart on him. So there's your reason to fire him. We were going the wrong direction. And it wasn't going to get any better. Right? It wasn't going to get any better. Nobody's arguing that roster and the direction we were going was going to get any better. No one's arguing the professional relationship, like the titles and the hierarchy of the organization was working by having a GM and a coach be equal. Stupid. That was stupid. I'm so glad. That's why I get annoyed when people say Woody Johnson step in and fire Saleh, because it's like, no. The last thing we need is the owner getting involved again. We finally got this organization pointing in the right direction. You know, whether you agree with that or not, you know, that's a strong opinion of mine that I could back up. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying there aren't things to be upset about, but I don't see how you could watch the last 2 years where this started and say that we're not pointing in the right direction. I really don't. I mean, I'll start to doubt it if we don't go and get a better quarterback. Like if we go into next year with Zach Wilson, Mike White, and Joe Flacco, I'm going to have some serious concerns. Serious concerns about this organization. But if we look and try and make a real effort and bring in a better quarterback, then I say we're going in the right direction. Because I think that next year, healthier offensive line, better quarterback, the way the defense and everything else around it is looking, I think we're going in the right direction. That's just how I feel. Should I get more something? It's the one. Let me say, marinated steak. It's a good idea. Yeah. We went to a butcher in Jackson, California. It's a crazy famous butcher. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's a small little hole in the wall. You walk in, it's just freezers filled with vacuum frozen meat. Not even in the right bins. Like they're all mixed up. You go into the bin, I pull out a thing of beef shish kebab, marinated. Then I can go in and you pull out a steak. Anyway, they give you a basket, and I just filled the basket with all the marinated New York strips I could find, all the different shish kebabs I could find. They had hamburgers that like are packed with things like bacon and blue cheeseburgers and everything. They do all the butchering there. They grind the meat there, whatever it is. They do everything there. And I went on a Wednesday. It was before Christmas. on it was Wednesday, on a Wednesday in the middle of the day at 1:45 p.m. And it wasn't that crowded, but by the time but it was like you could tell in and out people, but then it got packed while I was in there and a long line. And this was just 1:45 on a Wednesday. And it's in Jackson, California, in the middle of nowhere. It's like, what's the name of it? I'll get the name of it. Struer's Butcher or something. Absolutely wild. It's the best meat. And it's great when you go on a diet and you could still, like, I'll share a steak with my wife and have some salad. My God, to still get to eat something that tastes so good. I can't even tell you. Anyway, you guys, most of you aren't in California, so what do you care? But anyway, she wants to marinate steaks now. That was my point. She's texting me about ordering marinades so we can marinate our own steak. What should the Jets do if Bryce Young falls to them? There was talk that he may fall, and people fall every draft. Do we pick him or trade the pick? So here's what I think. I'm not as against drafting a quarterback as 95% of Jet fans. Every time I say, should we consider drafting a quarterback if it's the right guy? Everybody jumps down my throat. And I don't know why. Because everyone said, oh, we can't develop quarterbacks. This organization sucks at drafting quarterbacks. No more drafting quarterbacks. And I get it. Like, I get the frustration and I get the risk and how when you miss on quarterback, it's a wasted pick and it costs a lot of money. Like the Zach situation sucks. Like, I get it. But at the same time, it seems like every team that's won Super Bowls with a great legendary quarterback drafted the quarterback or got the quarterback, the first 2 years of their career before they were great. Because everybody else has to trade 1 million first-round picks and pay the guy $1 billion, and then you don't have the team to put around that great quarterback that you gave up everything to get. So it feels like the only way to make this all happen is to draft a great quarterback. Now, I don't think we are drafting a quarterback, but to answer your question, this is not my opinion and what I'm saying I agree with or not agree with. It's fine either way. If you're asking me, is there a chance, is there a possibility that Joe Douglas has a quarterback on the board? We don't know which one, but is there a quarterback on this board, on this year's draft, that Joe Douglas's attitude is, if this guy was to slip, we're taking him? Because remember, he creates a ranking that he doesn't base on position. He bases it on rankings to help the team, whatever. Like for the Jets, these are the order of the players. Is it possible there's a quarterback in the top 10 of that list? And if we pick at 11 and that quarterback is up there and no one higher on his list is there, I think maybe, but I don't know. There's no way. I don't know what Joe Douglas is thinking. But I think that so far he's been a guy that is a value guy. He picks the best player. And quarterback is a position of need. And do I agree that this regime should never draft a quarterback again because of Zach Wilson? I don't know. I mean, drafting a quarterback has been the formula for almost every successful team that's won Super Bowls, with the exception of like how the Green Bay got Brett Favre and how San Francisco got Steve Young. But those are different because they got them before they were stars, before they were proven guys, So you're saying, what should the Jets do? I think that Joe Douglas should stick to his, not mine. I think Joe Douglas should stick to his power rankings. I want him to like don't get, like, in other words, don't get emotional in the moment and change your mind. Like, months to prepare for the draft, right? Weeks and days before the draft, after free agency, weeks to decide your strategy. Go with what you do when you're planning in a room with everybody and using your brain, relaxed in a conference room. Come up with your list. And then when the draft starts, do not vary from that list. Do not let fear or emotion take over what you did in a conference room over a long period of time with tons of thought and discussion. If you watch the movie, The NFL Draft with Kevin Costner, he literally does that. He literally writes a note to himself to get himself to not give in to emotion, to use the smartest part of your brain. So, do I think he should? If he rates that quarterback higher than any other player that's available when he picks, I guess he should. Is it what I want to see? I can't imagine drafting a quarterback where we are right now. Like, I just can't see it, because what is that going to look like? What is that going to look like? Are we going to draft a quarterback and go out and get a veteran? I mean, you'd have to, right? You can't. I would imagine you'd have to go in, maybe not with Derek Carr if you draft a quarterback, but at least somebody better than what we have. I don't know. Let's ask this guy. Let's ask New York Jets fan 4, who's in the waiting room. What do you think, man? What would you do?
What's going on, Jeremy?
What's going on, brother?
Honestly, the way I've been thinking lately, the way the season's gone, and the whole situation with Zach, let's just say the Jets get 12th, 13th pick. If they win, lose, let's see what happens. But let's say generally they pick 12, 13.
Yeah.
The last guy who sent Michael Fox, I believe it was, he sent in if the Bryce Young falls, like in that comment. Let's just say something crazy like that does happen. I'm 100% trading back. If let's say Bryce Young falls, and this is my reasoning for it. Zach shouldn't play next year. He's obviously, unless something miraculous happens in the offseason where he figures it out, which I don't think that's what it's going to take. I think he needs to literally sit a full year behind a vet. So if I was JD, I would for sure 100% find a vet for next year, 2-year deal, out after 1 year, with an out after 1 year. You let Zach sit. If we're picked 12, 13, if one of these top players quarterbacks fall, and a team is just dying to move up to get them, you get a first for next year. So now you have 2 firsts. If you really don't think now, and now we're talking 2024 draft, if you really don't think by then Zach is the guy, you're going into that draft now with 2 first-round picks. So if there is a quarterback that you end up falling in love with, this is all hypothetical. Let's say after next year, Zach, you figure out Zach's not the guy, whatever. You go into that draft, you have 2 first-round picks. If you're picking in the middle of the pack, let's say with the vet, we're roughly in the same, or we make the playoffs, at least you got fuel. You want to move up. You got some ammo to move up to go get your guy.
I like it.
So I don't know, that me, if I was JD, that's what I'd be doing this year. I'm moving back and I'm drafting O-line. I want for sure we're gonna need a pipeline center if we don't sign McGovern again, or for sure a day 1 starter out of the draft. Who knows? And we definitely need tackle. We can't rely on Becton.
Right.
Fant's been injured all year. Brown's probably not going to come back after Saleh's press conference. The guy sounds like he's literally going to need like 4 surgeries in the offseason.
Right.
He's probably going to take his money and go. We need tackles. We got Tomlinson. We're stuck with him. AVT's they're probably not going to want to move him out to tackle unless they really can't get anything. That's the only scenario I could see AVT moving out to one of the tackle spots. So we're gonna need tackles. We're gonna need a center. And like I said last time, we need, whether it's in the draft or whether it's in, and Green Bean's been saying it the last couple of days too, we need a big defensive tackle to go beside Quinnen. We need that big 330-pound Snacks Harrison, run stuffer, takes on the double team and allow Quinnen to just. Can you imagine how many sacks Quinnen would have with an actual legitimate nose tackle beside him? If he's got 12 now with double teams, can you imagine?
Well, I think back to the 1 or 2 games where Nate Shepard actually played well and we were unstoppable. So
yeah.
What you're saying is find somebody that's not Nate Shepard that does it only twice in a season. Find a guy that does it every single week and we're unstoppable.
And Nate Shepard's more of like he's more of like a built guy. Like he's we need like the big, just like Woods, like from Seattle. Like that guy, he was just throwing everybody around. You couldn't run the ball up the middle. And honestly, that's where the Jets get destroyed, is up the middle. Teams run up the middle, they make the first cut, and they kill us. It's very rare the Jets get beat on the outside, unless it's a screen pass, which can't seem to cover a screen. But on the outside runs, we're good. It's the runs up in the middle.
Yeah.
And we need that. And the last time we had a solid run defense was Rex, and we had Snacks. And look, at the minute we'd lost Snacks to the Giants, I believe it was literally all downhill from there. We haven't had a nose tackle really since.
This
So
is true.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a very, very interesting offseason. Very interesting. I don't know. Last year, we sort of had the points of where we needed to improve. This year, with having to sign Quinnen, we're wondering if a quarterback situation. There's just so many question marks this year. I don't know. We'll see what JD has up his sleeve.
Yeah, it's very different because the last couple of years we had salary cap and we had space and we had flexibility. And now any flexibility we want to have, we have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
If we want
Big one.
flexibility, we have to possibly drop Lawson and Corey Davis unless they want to restructure.
Yeah.
So, and those are really the two guys that are glaring right now as far as real money that we could free up for guys that I think most people agree aren't worth that much money. Not that they're not valuable, but they're not worth that much.
Yeah. I think honestly, this year is going to be like we've seen what JD can do, the progression. I think this is going to be the year where we're actually going to see his true colors and what he can really do. Because this is, in my opinion, this is it. Like if they don't get to the playoffs this year, or this year coming up, I think Woody's just going to Woody's going to do Woody things and probably clean house.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot on the table this year. I think this year is going to really show his true colors because there's going to be pressure. There's going to be a lot of different scenarios going on. So we'll see.
We'll see. No, these are good points, man. I didn't even something to talk about because I have in mock drafts that I've done one online live, but just on my own. I have traded down, just what you're saying. Like, and there's been offers for people to trade up. When I look, I'm like, who are they trading up to get? It's one of those guys that slip.
Me personally, there's only one guy. There's only one guy in this draft that I'm not trading back for, and he's probably never going to fall to us. Is Will Anderson, the pass rusher from Alabama?
Yeah, he's pretty special.
That's the only guy I'm not passing up on, but he ain't falling to us at 12 or 13. That's literally crazy to think about, but. That's like the only one scenario where I'm staying put and I'm taking him. Yeah. But other than that, even Bryce Young, any quarterback, I'm trading back. I'm getting whatever I can get. And my first option is I want a first for next year.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is a possibility. And by the way, Micro Fox, thank you so much for the super chat. There is a possibility that this has happened where no one's offering us enough when the pick comes. Or they can't work it out fast enough, you take the quarterback that slips, right? So you take Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
But then what it does for us is it's risky. But what it does for us is as the draft goes on, you know who's available still when you make the trade with the team you're trading for. Like, so then you find that team and say, oh, you're picking now at 15th. You want Young, right? We'll give you Young. You give us this pick and your second round pick.
Has that ever happened? In the NFL draft where they've drafted a player and then traded him?
Oh yeah, players have been drafted during. You see it in NBA more recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say NBA. It's more of a that happens literally all the time.
It's definitely happened. We've had guys get drafted and then later during the draft get traded. Yeah. So it's much, much riskier because if we really don't want a quarterback, it's.
Well, I gotta be honest. The only other thing that makes my mind wander a little bit is if, like, let's just say JD feels the pressure this much. What about if he doesn't? He feels like he has to do something now, and he doesn't future our draft picks. What if he goes all in with what the picks that whatever we have and either move up to go get either like maybe 3 players in the draft instead of 5, but those 3 players are really good prospects instead of moving back and getting future picks because he feels the pressure in order to get more talent on this team. that makes my mind wander a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I hope, I was talking about this with my brother the other day, that really hurts teams, and it's kind of like a corporation because of the stock, right? When you're a public company, sometimes the worst thing to happen to a team or to a company, just to make a comparison, is that it goes public, and the reason is because you may have been a company that got to your success by being always thinking of the future, making really good, sound decisions that are balanced for the now and the future. And then when you go public, you have shareholders who want profits now. And what that leads to is poor decision making for the long term because you're making decisions for the short term, right? So it's the same thing with right now with whatever he decides to do, Joe Douglas. What we don't want is we don't want him to do it because he's under pressure. Like, oh, we have to win now, and then we do all kinds of stupid things to try to win now. And if it doesn't work, we lose everything we've built.
Yeah. And honestly, we've had GMs that just to do that all the time, right?
Yeah.
We've seen it a lot of times, right? So I'm just, that makes me might worry a little bit. JD's never shown to be that guy, but who knows, man? When people feel the pressure, they do some crazy things, right? So
Yeah.
it's gonna be. That's what I mean. This year is very up in the air. There's a lot of directions we can go. There's a lot of different things we can do, but we'll see. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting. I mean, I think that the number one thing, obviously, on the list for everybody is of interest is who is our quarterback going to be. I mean, obviously, that's what
Main
everyone
position,
wants
right?
to know. We don't know who our quarterback is going to be week 1 of next year, and
Yeah.
that is a tremendous point of interest. Especially when, I don't know about you, but I believe with a few other kinks and adjustments, we really are a quarterback away. In the sense of, again, yeah, the offensive line, we got to fix that, and we might need some extra help on defense. But the main thing that really is between us and being a very serious team, deep playoff run serious, is a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. We got to find the QB. That's what we have to do.
yeah. So
we'll see. Anyway, I'll let someone else call in, but it was nice speaking to you.
I appreciate
And we'll hopefully we can do more of these call-in shows. I like them.
Absolutely, man. And thanks for calling in. I appreciate your insight.
No problem. Have a good night, man.
Take care, brother. All right. That was Jets Fan 4, everybody. Give him some love for doing that. That was great. Adds to the show. And while he was here, Ablab Studios, a good friend of the show, big supporter of the channel, says, I've been saying, as you know, Jeremy, that we need a run-stopping DT. But wouldn't it be nice if they followed the fans' plans? Utopia. Which fans, though? I feel like it's been a long time since our fan base has been even close to on the same page. We disagree about everything. I think the only thing that the fan base doesn't disagree on, that we all agree on, is that Sauce Gardner is awesome. And I think we agree that Garrett Wilson is awesome. And I think that we all agree that Breece Hall getting hurt sucks. So there are some things I could pull out that we agree on. But it hasn't been easy. But yeah, I think that a lot of people, it's the least sexy pick if you're a Jet fan, a defensive tackle. It's the least sexy because we picked so many in the last decade that didn't work. Or it worked, but we've picked so many. And I think that people, get tired of it. So I don't know about a number 1 pick or not, but we need a defensive tackle. I know it feels like the offensive line is stacked, the rotation, but we need a defensive tackle to stay next to Quinnen Williams. Someone a little bit run-stop oriented. It's not that I have anything against Sheldon Rankins if we somehow retain him. He was fine this year, but we're talking about a run-stopping stud. And I love the callback on Snacks. That was a great callback because that's what he was. He was a wall. Can you imagine if we had a Snacks Harrison type player standing or lining up right next to Quinnen Williams? I mean, it's tempting, but we need a free safety. We need a free safety, and we need I don't know, man, which linebacker, but we've got to improve the linebacker room. Like the mistakes that Quincy was making, man, I can't have it. Can't have it. It's killing us. Although Saleh says that it wasn't the linebacker's fault. The 4th and inches play. Yeah, so Eli was traded. But was Eli traded during the draft? I thought that was after the draft when he refused to sign. Because I did think of Eli when he said, did that ever happen? But was Eli draft? Did that trade happen? Didn't San Diego pick Rivers and then afterwards we made the swap with them? Or did we? Because I don't think we traded Eli to San Diego and then picked again. I think they picked Rivers. The point is, we know it's legal. You're allowed to do it. You're allowed to take a player and then trade that player during the draft for a pick. It's legal. Because all it really is rights to a player. Yeah, that's a good point. We all agree on that. We agree that DJ Reed was signing being. If there's somebody who doesn't agree with that, I God help him. Rich says it too, no doubt. That was probably the best free agent signing we've had since Joe Douglas. Right, I'm trying to think of a better free agency signing than Reed. I can't do it. I think the question we all want answers is: do we keep Nick Bowden? Who's Nick Bowden? Am I senile? Nick Bowden, wasn't he an offensive lineman? No, that's Bill Baldwin. I don't know, man. I'm confused. I'm too tired. Am I losing my mind? Is it me? Can we trust JD do the right thing? Man batched up our whole season. Right, the man batched our whole season. Jets was supposed to get Lawrence. No other team would have won them, knowing they got a chance to generate quarterback, and that was that. Man, you're just bringing up old wounds. I'm telling you, man, that Rams game, I was so mad. Didn't we play Jacksonville or something? And like that was the final straw, or we won the next week. But man, why the hell did we win that game against the Rams? Why? Why couldn't they just tank? I said it to my wife. I said, this team does not want to win. That's how I felt. I go, they're not serious. Nobody is going to care about that Rams game except to continue to be pissed we won it. Like if we tank that game and lose that game, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Just freaking tank and get Trevor Lawrence. We owned. It was in our destiny. We had control of the destiny of getting Trevor Lawrence and full control. Because it's not like, control your own destiny and you have to go out and win. No, we just had to go out and lose. Why couldn't we just go out and lose? Like this team, this organization, it kills me, dude. All we had to do was go out and freaking lose. They couldn't even get that right. Just go out and lose, man. Just lose the games. But Joe Douglas couldn't have helped that because Adam Gase had equal power and he was the coach. So even if Joe Douglas said tank, Adam Gase could have said just no. And you can't argue and say tank or else if you're the owner, because what's the or else? If you fire someone for not tanking, they just tell everybody, and then you get in trouble for that because you're not allowed to do that. So the owner would probably be forced to sell the team if it was proven they demanded the team lose. I don't think that he'd be bad if he was here, Rich. I mean, there's a chance he'd still be developing, and Jet fans would hate him and already given up on him. Yeah, I said that. I said that, Dom. It wasn't the linebacker's fault. Tight end was Whitehead's responsibility. What about Will Parks, Will Parks looked like he was doing a rain dance for water. I don't know what the hell he was doing on that play. Well, the fullback. I wanted him on the team. I don't know what happened with that. I don't know why we abandoned the 22 personnel. I don't know why. I'll never have an answer for that one. I don't know why. I liked it, Nick Bowden. He got hurt. Didn't he get hurt? He was hurt. Yeah. But even though that wasn't the tight end's responsibility, I still don't like Quincy Williams. I don't care. I don't like him. Makes a big play and then kills us 2 other plays. He's like Ty Johnson. Don't like him. Although Ty Johnson grew on me a little bit this year. San Diego traded Eli to the Giants. Yeah, I remember. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. The Giants, San Diego took Eli. The Giants took Phillip Rivers, and then they swapped, right? That's how, isn't that how it happened? And then I guess there was some extra cost for the Giants. Oh, so Joe is not a fan. Joe is the quarterback guru, a college quarterback guru. He knows who's going to be good, who's going to be bad. Hey, I heard that guy Hooker. I think he's the player. I heard, which is the one? Or was it Richardson? One of them is a one read and run guy. One read, if it's not there, run. I don't want that. Don't pick that. Because that's not proven. You can't prove anything. We have no idea if that quarterback's going to be able to play in the NFL. If you're someone who does one read and then takes off running, if it's not there, I don't want that as my quarterback. They're going to come in and not fit our system because our system doesn't say to do that. You have to, and how are you going to pick a quarterback until you can judge whether or not they could read through the progressions? I mean, we couldn't even do it with Zach Wilson. We're going to do it with a guy who intentionally always runs. So I don't think we could pick any of those guys. But I do hope that Bryce Young is available when we pick because Jeff Ford just made the best point. Think about the trade demand. Think about the value of our pick if there's somebody slips, if a quarterback slips. Right? Think about that. That would be great. That would be great if somebody was to slip. Like maybe a team tries to trade up to grab him. He's slipping. A team tries to trade up to grab him, but the teams ahead of us are unreasonable with what they want. And then it doesn't get done, the deal. And then it bounces to us. And now we're sitting there at 12 or 13. And some team comes in and gives us an outrageous offer, man. An outrageous offer. Because they want that quarterback so bad and they're desperate. They're coming up from like pick 23 or whatever it is, or 22. Suddenly they offer us that pick, their first round for next year, second round for this year, and third round for like some crazy freaking package. Then we trade back. We get 2 second-round picks. And then next year we get 2 number ones. Maybe an extra third or fourth, whatever it is. That'd be amazing, dudes. I know people are tired of building for the future, but you got to keep the pipeline filled with players if you want long-term success. You want to be a competitor every year, you make trades like that, dude. You build up your draft capital. You keep throwing great players in the pipeline. And then you just hope that it all comes together. That's the best you can do. When you're competing with 32 other teams that are doing the same thing you're doing, you can never guarantee anything. All you could do is just stay good, and stay competitive. I don't know why you're saying stick to reality. That's not unrealistic. What are you talking about? The Giants traded a first-round pick to move up to get Fields from 20 to 10, remember? So, and I think they gave up another pick too. I think there was another pick in that deal. I don't know if it was flat out just that. It's not unrealistic for a team. We've seen teams give up crazy amounts of draft capital to get their guy. If Bryce Young or one of the quarterbacks was to slip to us because the deal couldn't get done from another team, there's a chance that you can get a bidding war. 2 teams want to trade up with you. Joe Douglas is a great negotiator. We've seen what he has been able to pull. He's pulled off the unrealistic. There's no reason to think it's impossible that we can get like a first and a second. Like a next year's first and second, like so that and that quarterback, and there's a team that will do it for their quarterback. That's a good question. Anytime I bring it up, people jump down my throat. Every time I bring it up, people jump down my throat. Every time I suggest the possibility that if a really good quarterback slips, why can't we pick him and just keep him? Every time. Now, there's financial things. I mean, Dom Seal chime in. We're stuck paying Zach $35 million for the next 2 years. So, and now we're going to put another 4-year contract with it's already done. We can't change it or fix it. We're going to get another big money guy. I mean, it's not as bad as if it's a top 10 pick, but it's still bad. But it's probably not nearly as bad as Zach at number 2. It's probably not nearly as bad a pick or a commitment. Like there's a big difference between the 12th pick in the draft and the second pick in the draft. But still, I mean, if we could erase this thing of you're fired if you don't win now, if we can get rid of that mentality, maybe it is the better thing. Maybe it is better for everybody to just chill out, be a little bit more patient, and say it didn't work with Zach. We got an opportunity. This great quarterback slipped us that JD believes in. Let's say Joe Douglas loves it. It was the number 1 quarterback he had on the board or whatever. The guy slips to us, and JD believes he's going to be a great quarterback. And a lot of other people in the room believe it. I mean, is it the worst thing in the world to try again? I don't know. Yeah, it's going to – I mean, we have to do something for this year, though. We'd have to get Gary Minshew. Like, we'd have to do something. If we use that first pick for a quarterback, we would have to do something for – we cannot go into next season with Mike White, Zach Wilson, and a draft pick. We cannot do that. Can't do it. But then the question becomes, well, how do you make room on the roster? Because you can't hold more than 3 guys. So how do you deal with that if you draft somebody? Now you have to go in with veteran quarterback, the rookie, and then Zach. Because you can only hold 3. And if you cut Zach, then you got the $20 million cap. It's very, very hard to imagine a scenario. You hear what I'm saying, how challenging it is. It's very, very hard to imagine a scenario where we can draft a quarterback because it puts us in a really bad position unless the plan is to start that quarterback. And then the question becomes, are you really going to go into year 3 after last year and start over with a rookie? And not give them time to develop on the bench for a year, which is what seems to be the big complaint of what they didn't do. Finally, I was waiting for that. Get some info from someone. Nah, Tom C. I knew he'd chime in. For argument's sake and comparison, Zach number 2 costs $9.5 million next year. Mac Jones at 15 costs $3 million. So that's a big difference. So money is not such an issue. But the issue is how many guys can you protect on the 53? So you draft a quarterback. You got to hold on to Zach at least 1 year, right? I mean, we don't got to. But if you don't, it's a tremendous cap hit. Dead cap. So then you kind of have to have just you have to cut Mike White or don't sign Mike White. Can't re-sign Mike White. You have to sign a better veteran. More proven guy. So let's say they decide, I don't know. I guess you could bring in like a Jimmy G on a 1-year guaranteed deal. But it's going to be very hard because people are going to offer a lot more to him. Derek Carr's not coming for 1-year guarantee. Now you're back to where I was thinking where some of you were being rude and insulting me. Now you're back to a Jameis Winston. Maybe you get him from 1-year prove-it deal. Maybe you get Baker Mayfield for 1 year, but does he want to do that? Does he want to go to another place where it's for 1 year? You know what I mean? Like, what level do we drop down to if we draft a quarterback and say, you're going to come in and be the quarterback while we develop this new draft pick? And what if that quarterback that we signed gets hurt? Then what do you do? Then you have to bring in Zach Wilson or the rookie. Bring me Han Solo and the rookie. I just realized that rhymed. I hope Sith is still here. He'd appreciate that. We're in such a tough decision, like mode. So this is why I don't see us drafting a quarterback. But it sucks because deep down, I know for long term, the best thing for an organization is to draft your future star franchise quarterback. Like that's by far the best. Thanks. That's by far the best scenario for a team. Like that's why this Zach thing is so painful. Because it's like so painful because it's so much what you need to have happen based on evidence of the past. You draft a quarterback high and they pan out, and that's what makes an organization, a franchise, take off. And if they don't pan out, historically, it's bad situation. Speaking of quasi-reality, I love the way this guy talks. I mean, it's like he was supposed to be born and raised in, I don't know, Stamford, Connecticut, or some other town where there's a lot of geeky smart people. He was supposed to be this scholar, right? But no, he was a New York, New Jersey, Italian guy, right? Stuck in the body, but the brain is stuck in the body of that. He has to be this regular Italian guy, Jet fan, yeah. But really, he's this genius that talks like an author. And he says, speaking in quasi-reality. Why isn't my thing live so I can see it on the big screen? 1 second. Oh, here it is. Speaking in quasi-reality, the only quarterback available at the 15 slot will probably be Anthony Richardson, and he's a 2 to 3 year project. You don't think Herndon Hooker? Come on, he's definitely going to slip. That guy might not even get picked to the 4th round. But I know we're not picking him in the 1st round. So you think realistically the only one that could slip is, but you said the same thing about that Paris tackle that he's going top 5, 8, whatever. And there's plenty of draft boards that don't agree with you. Like Walter Football says that Paris guy is going to be available in the top 15, not necessarily only the top 8. They don't even have him as the first tackle being picked. So people have different opinions, Dom. What do you have to say to that? Let me have it. I want to know. Guys, man, I have to get going. I can't wait. Oh, we got Johnny. Johnny wants to come in. Wait a second. Who's Johnny? 1 second. We got a guest, guys. You're going to love this guy. He's about to yell at me. You ready to hear me get yelled at? Here you go. Boom. What's up? Welcome to the show, Johnny. What's going on?
Oh, Stony Brook University is within the Three Village School District. Okay, now that's where I taught. I taught in Stony Brook University, and while I was there. I happened to be there. My final 2 years teaching in the district. My final 2 years in the district were there in '91. So I was teaching in the Stony Brook district while you were there as a freshman at the university. I had been teaching there 30 years and then I quit. I retired. So that's that piece of information. I'd still like to meet your wife. She's probably so much lovelier than you are. So, so if you come down here sometime, give us a call anyway, and I can tell stories about Stony Brook. Now, I send a note and I said, listen, read carefully, and you didn't. I wrote Stoney. What does that spell?
Stony?
Stoney. Huh?
Stony.
What? Stony. What is it? Is you refer to someone who is stony, someone who might be high a little bit? Stony Brook. Now, I taught in Stony Brook. I taught at a place. Okay, now it's beginning to catch on, Jer.
Yes.
Okay. Move on. Can I move on to Saleh and why he doesn't deserve to be back? You want him back, and I've heard your arguments for him and for his little puppy. So
his little puppy.
Yeah. There's a little puppy, my puppy LaFleur. Okay,
Love it.
he had to come along with Saleh as an OC. I made this a note. If he had been offered a position as a quarterbacks coordinator, he was not getting a promotion in that event. And so, in order to get him from San Francisco, they had to offer him the OC job. Well, it was either that, well, take him, or somebody else. Well, they took him. Why? Saleh was familiar with him, and he was bosom buddies with him and his brother and the whole deal. That's history. So it's Saleh's responsibility for having said to Douglas, I need my boy. After that, it becomes Douglas's responsibility to provide the boy with enough support so that he could, I'm talking about Zach, but so that Zach could grow and so that maybe LaFleur would have a real chance at learning on the job. He never did. 2 years showed us continually how he didn't learn on the job. He was running his brother's playbook, everybody in NFL had a copy of and knew what was coming from him when there's certain formations out there. And how many times on first and 10 did he run up the middle for a 2-yard loss? That's on an inexperienced young guy who's trying to find his way. He just never found it. That's Saleh's responsibility. Saleh's the head coach. He's got to say, hey, I'm here. You have to do such and such and such. Consequently, JD, who's responsible for the roster, never brought in a seasoned veteran who he would have the ability to have a support system for Zach and who could have started in Zach's first year. Let's give Zach credit. At the end of the offseason, he looked like he might be the guy. He really did. He wasn't, was he? So, I mean, give us a break. Saleh is responsible for that. Saleh could have always gone to JD and said, this is not going to be a good idea to bring a kid along. I need somebody. I'm a first-year head coach. Nobody on this team has had the experience of being a first-year head coach, so I need some help, JD. Get me some help. And JD never got him the help that he needed in order to develop Zach. That's on JD, but it's also on Saleh for having been fooled by a preseason, by OTAs preseason, and the rest of it. So Saleh should have known, the management should have known that they didn't have anybody. Flacco did not come onto the team until week 6, or 5, I don't know, in his first year. So what are we looking at? We're looking at a guy who has shot himself in the foot. It's not that somebody else didn't do the job. It's that he didn't take the appropriate responsibility. You think Mike Tomlin would have done that?
No.
God damn, no. You were on about how great Tomlin was before. He is, he continues to be great. And he continues. This year's team was sort of like picked as the last place team in the North, AFC North, prior to the season. Okay, I mean, I got a lot to complain about. I got a lot to complain about. I never will complain about you or even your misguided ideas about who should be where and who should be captain. But I always appreciate you, Jerry. Uh,
Thank you.
I gave you my Christmas gift earlier, and I love your show, love what you do, keep it up, but turn a more critical eye on the people who are really responsible for this same old Jets shit. Bye.
I will do. Thank you, sir.
What do you want to yell back at me if you care?
I can't yell at you.
Yes, you can.
I will say this. I am very critical during the year of Robert Saleh and specific Mike LaFleur. Like many times when I was mad at Mike LaFleur, I said this comes down to Saleh. He had the ability at any time to say stop the bullshit. When those ridiculous calls inside the red zone were coming in, Saleh could have said stop it. Stop the nonsense. Stop trying to get fancy. Stop playing games. Just pound the ball into the end zone. And my argument is not if Saleh doesn't improve, my argument is not that his coaching up to now has been acceptable. My argument is just that I believe he can change and grow and get better, and that he deserves a third year just to do that. And you know what I mean?
That's throwing good money after bad. Show me what specific aspect about this team that Saleh has made great. And don't tell me the defense.
Yeah, you took the one thing that he did well and said, I can't use it.
You can't use the defense. He wasn't the defensive coordinator.
But he's just like with Mike LaFleur.
If he had a problem with the defense, I'm sure he stood up and said to Ulbrich, do this. He knows that side of the ball. He doesn't really know the offensive side of the ball, no matter what he claims.
But at least he brought something, right? I mean, he can't.
What? He brought a new bag of horse shit to the public. It's the same old shit dressed in a new bag. Remember those bags that we used to wear at the games?
The brown paper bag.
You remember that, okay?
Brown paper bag.
Tell me at the end of this season, you are willing to sit in the stands with a brown bag over your head, with eyes cut out. Whatever.
Look, no, I can't argue that. I can only say I'm not saying that the job he did is good enough. I'm saying I want to see if another year is going to do it. You're saying I'm throwing good money after bad, but I'd like to see him with a real quarterback.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him coach a team.
Okay. Who's responsible for him not having a real quarterback? Well, Nap dies. God rest his soul. However, did they replace Nap instantly with a mind who Zach could have been molded by? The answer to that is no. Why? Because Saleh said he's got it. He's really got it. He's the one. He came out of training camp looking gangbusters. He looked like he deserved to start. He did. But it was fool's gold. So, let's not go back to the choice of the first place. I had other people up ahead of him. But, that's neither here nor there. Fumble, all my stuff is getting jammed up between my ears at this point. Anyway, I love you, Jer. Have a great, great, great new year. And my best to your lovely wife.
Thank you so much. Same back to you, sir. Have a great new year. Happy New Year. Right. So that was me getting schooled. So you guys are bad with the jokes. You guys are cracking jokes. Look, Johnny's waited a long time for a winner since the last one, but at least he got to experience the Super Bowl with Namath. I will say this. Like I said, the reality, right or wrong, is proven through time. If if Saleh stays the coach and we come out and win 7 to 8 games next year or less, and we don't grow, or even if it takes another year, let's say we win 9 or 10 games, but he loses in the first round, and then the year after that, we only win 5 games, then the point will have been taken. We threw good money after bad, and he's right. If Saleh comes out next year and we win 10, 11 games, win a playoff game, go to divisional rounds, lose, then the next year go to the championship game, maybe hit the Super Bowl. If that was to magically happen, I'm not saying it will, then it would be proven that it's lucky we gave Saleh more of a chance. But here's the reality. The reality is there's two things. There's two opinions, right? There's the opinions of, do you think Robert Saleh should be fired? And then there's the other question of, do you think JD is actually going to fire him? Now, that I could say is a totally different conversation, right? Because we're not talking about our opinion about whether or not he'll be fired. We're talking about the opinion of, do you think that he's going to be fired? Now, that's conversation of the reason I go crazy right away with enough of the fire Saleh more than anything is because I believe so strongly that it's not going to happen. We're not going to, because I just don't believe that they're going to fire him. Like if I was a betting man, I would bet that Robert Saleh is not going to get fired, and I would probably think that I'd make that bet pretty confidently. So that doesn't mean he shouldn't be. It's two different things. What I mean is I don't think that we're going to. I think that Robert Saleh is going to be our head coach next year, and we may as well get used to that reality. And we're all going to know if that's a mistake or not. If they end up firing him at the end of next year, then we all know it was a mistake. They should have fired him this year because they cost us an extra year. If they don't fire him next year because he does really well, then we'll be happy they didn't fire him. But what I'm really interested in is it a conversation we need to have? Because is it realistic? Is it something that's actually going to happen? Is Robert Saleh really going to be fired? Is there any real strong possibility of it? I don't think there's been any indication that there is, in my opinion. That I don't think he's going to be. So I think we have to hope, at least as a fan base, that Saleh gets better and he grows and he becomes a better head coach and he starts doing those things with Mike LaFleur and he starts putting his foot down and he says enough of the nonsense and he makes sure that the play calling is improved, even if he has to go out and get another veteran coach and assign the play calling to the veteran coach. And if he's worried about his job, which maybe he should be if nothing happens next year, if things don't change, maybe he should seriously consider doing that. Because Mike LaFleur, I don't know about him as a coordinator. The plays look fine to me. It's the play calling more than anything. It's not that I think the plays are crap and that he doesn't have a good playbook. It's the play calling. It's the timing of when he decides to do things that bothers me the most. Yeah, he's going to also have to learn to talk to the press. Aussie, are you from down under? From Panama. You're in Panama. Are you Aussie, like in Australia now, but you're originally from Panama? Now, I have so many questions. But because what I want to know is, are you talking like this, Mike? Are you putting another snag on the bobby? I don't know. I knew somebody from Panama. I have a friend from Panama. I haven't talked to him in 20 years, but I used to know somebody from Panama. Balls be hurting. Welcome. Rich, you've been here. Super Leroy, it's about time you got here. Joe, hey guys, I got to go. I'm actually going to Pure Adrenaline Sports. I'm going to jump in and do some watch party stuff with them. I meant to come on for 40 minutes. I'm not kidding. It's been 2 hours and 23 minutes. But you guys, every time I went out, you guys pull me back in. But have a wonderful, by the way, Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year to everybody. And enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Again, I'm going to jump over to Pure Adrenaline Sports, see if they're still on covering the football game that I don't even know what the score is. I guess I'll find out. But for those of you who joined late, thanks. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Enjoyed my early rant and then enjoyed some of the fun. And thanks for everybody for being here. And I will be back. 24 to 26 KC. Oh my God. They're putting an exclamation point on their season. Anyway, take care, everybody. My season started like this. are live. We got Harry W. We got Richie from Jets Media, Matt O'Leary, Iowan Jets fan, woo, in the house. We got Dom C in the house. We got Steve, live, CEO of the Jet Lounge. So I knew I'd get rich on my channel. See what's going on. Yeah, there we go. Woo.
Jets by $1 million today.
Yeah.